This is my, I guess, first recorded match on the zero point 0.8 patch. It's me. Currently, I'm one of the good players on the leaderboard against Samson, who I'd say is one of the other top 5 players. I'm playing 3 different decks that I would consider like semi-viable. So this one is Shadows. And I think we end up seeing that Samson is playing something new that also seems like fringe viable. Not a troll strategy, playing cool cards, good inclusions. One of the new cards has made it into this deck. So even though I have the option to play cards here, I'm deciding not to. I There's a reason for this. So Nightmare is the leftmost card on my hand currently, and it has an ability where it will keep coming back if I have more cards in hand. So what I would have liked to see him do is on round 1 he plays a card and I play daggers, which means that he discards an extra card, and then I have more cards in hand than him. This would mean that Nightmare would keep proccing, and that's quite strong. And I think that he probably also had cards to play, and he was just choosing to do the same. So either it's because he wanted to see me play a card, and then he would have played like a 2-point card, which would probably have beaten what I did, or if I wasn't going to play a card, he wanted to play Dagger. So there's a little bit of just like surprising gameplay. I think when I play with new players, they would have just always jammed a bunch of cards there. Um, I'm not totally sure that my line was correct. Like maybe on round 2, I should have played Nightmare. Um, Here, I can't Rooster out my Nightmare. So Rooster will trigger the morning ability of something below it, which means it will hit Nightmare. And it's kind of like a second shot at me getting out those recurring points. Moon does the same thing, but with 2 of them below it. Um, and then the rest of this game. So what am I thinking about at this point? I can play hero. If I don't spend any breath, the exhale 5 will happen. So if I don't play any more cards, I'll just get 2 more points. If I spend any more breath, then I can't afford the exhale 5, and the thing that will happen is discarding the next card. So this was like exactly what I wanted to see. Um, he had more breath that round because of Inspire, which gives extra breath in a round. And I wanted to get lucky and like discard a card that he had played that was high cost. And I happened to hit Truth, which is just 8 points. And I also discarded a card from his hand. So I kind of like got ahead in terms of, um, I guess, card advantage. Like it's again 6 to 6, but I like got through a round that was hard for me to tie, and I like traded off my cards pretty effectively. Once you get to 8 breath, Hero becomes really strong. It's a little bit weaker in this deck than in Hyper Thin because there's like a lead in. You kind of always want to play Hero as the first card or do a mix up where you play something else as the first card. But decks like this wanna keep priority on round to round, which means that you're playing the last card in the round. And Hero has this weird way of like both benefiting from that as well as making it easy to do that because you get to pass after their first card because you're threatening that you will discard it and get points as well. So they have to play 2 cards in a row. Um, Shadow is cheaper later in a round, so it also is good with Hero. And all around, I think that Hero is pretty good. Although maybe we're like slightly overrating it and playing it in too many decks. I think like the top 5 players all like play Hero in lots of decks. Um, of the top 3 cards, Clear View is pretty specific to decks that stuff the opponent's hand. Paramountcy is mostly like a build around card, although you can just splash it. And then Hero is really the one that's like pretty easy to slot in. even though I'm not sure if it's the strongest of the three. Um, Here I also have excess, which is the 7/7. I would like to play more cards before the shuffle, because then I will get to play them another time before the game ends. So I'm probably thinking about that, but I'm also thinking about, can I get Moon to trigger both of my nightmares? Um, and I'm like semi-competitive this round, so I know my opponent has 7 breath. Ends up being the case that I don't beat him. Um, he also got Prey or Predator into my hand, which is something he wants to do before his shuffle, just because now I have a card, Predator, which is just a 1/0 instead of being worth extra points because he has Preys left in his discard pile. I feel like I misplay this round. Um, but I think that was literally just a misclick. If I were to do this again, like there's a line where I play hero. You can do hero and then excess as your fourth card, and then you're just in a really good spot. But this is like not a lot of points, and fishing boat is drawing me cards, but my hand is going to be over full. So this was kind of just a misplay. Um, if I play any more cards here, then hero uh, will be the exhale 3 ability instead of the exhale 5, consuming all that breath. So yeah, I kind of like misplayed twice, um, which was very silly. So misplayed when I played fishing boat, and I misplayed when I maybe played hero, and then I misplayed when I played dagger. Like, let's just forget this round existed. Um, if I keep Predator long enough, either it's something that enables access, or the opponent has prey in their discard, and it ends up being worth 2 or 4 points. I'm also in the rough position. My opponent plays victim, which benefits them if they lose the round. And once your opponent has 4 wins, victim stops being good, right? But before that, they're at some point going to take a win, and you can like massively benefit. So victim will give you an extra, essentially like an extra point next round for every card you lost or every point you lost by. Um, so it scales into the round, into the game, because later in the game that's going to be like 10 points, or some of these decks get like 40 points in a round if they're really going for a combo. Here, so he's played access, that's good, but he still has 2 truth. Truth is just like points. It's the only card that just gets you lots of points in exchange for breath. It has no abilities. I think it would be cool to have more cards like that. Uh, just not exactly sure what they would be. Other games I think do this a little bit better because your cards also have like a type. So like an elf or a dwarf or whatever. And then they have this like auxiliary kind of like benefit on top of their stats. And other games also just have more stats. There's cost, attack, defense. This was also a misplay. I wanted Rooster to trigger Nightmare. So I wanted Rooster to be the last card. And here's the thing of playing Hero. So it's nice that I kept priority. You do that by playing the last card in a round. So as this round starts, I'm the person that acts first, and I get to pass here. And Samson kind of like knows this and respects this. He plays a lot of decks that really center hero. Um, the thing that I could do here is bluff that I've played hero first. I could play Night Vision because the first card he plays is probably going to be worth no points. It's going to be like a low value card, and he has a couple cards like that in his deck. I'd also say of the deck that he's playing, it's like a trading deck. So it's like fairly mid-range, fairly simple, like low floor for the understanding, but uh kind of high ceiling because you're paying attention to your shuffle, you're trading rounds in that you play hollow to keep your points from a round to the next round. And did I blunder here? You could think like, how winnable is this round? Access is kind of just a 7/7. My opponent has 8 points from his nourish. Anyways, so the deck that he's playing is like pretty cool. You sometimes have problems of decks with high value per card, like Truth, being like pretty clunky because you can end up with 4 6 cost cards in your hand, and then there's nothing you can do. But that was really close. But here he has Starfall, which will discard itself if your hand is too full. And he has Access, which he could play on the back of like the 3 cards before it, and it just puts him at card disadvantage for the round, but he's kind of fine with that. Um, and then a lot of his other cards are like fairly cheap. I think here we're getting into the next game. So I'm playing a Paramountcy deck, and this is like an Ashes Paramountcy deck. You can splash it in a lot of different shells. Paramountcy, like you could splash it in an aggro shell just because you're gonna win enough early game rounds that you will get to the late game, and then Paramountcy just ends up being like a bunch of points on round 9. Here, maybe I should have led with a pass because he daggered after I played Do. So something else ended up on top of Do in my discard pile, and I didn't trigger Morning. But I really wanted to get my. Honestly, maybe it would have been fine. I think of this deck as like aggro, and in aggro decks, I kind of like want to play round 1. Um, but in reality, I with this deck want to quote unquote stuff a card, which means like my hand only goes up to 6 cards, and I'd like to not draw 2 cards in a round once. You'll end up seeing this on round 8, I think, because I don't want to shuffle before I play Paramountcy. I also, like, I could have passed after he played a card here. The risk is that he played Hollow, and then it would be a tie. But the other risk is that he played Victim, which he did, and I get one more -1 nourish. That's kind of fine for me because I'm just trying to fill up my discard pile. And if Victim was played, I'm not going to win round 4 anyways. I do have uh, the Overflow, the 3 cost card, which will conceivably give me like 5 points. It gives 1 point per card in hand. So that's like fairly competitive, but that's not enough to get over -4 from Victim. I could play Cling here for 6 points. He has more Inspire than I do, so he has 2 extra breath and I just have 1, which is why I feel comfortable passing here. And I'm realizing a little bit late that like I do want to stuff cards. I only have 4 cards left in my deck. I'm gonna play Cling twice, so that's like 6 cards. So that's 3 rounds of drawing cards. That would get me to round 8 before I shuffled. And I would like to get to round 9 so I can play Paramountcy. The other line, so I can cling. I can just go back and forth with clings, each of them hitting the other cling, and it gets me like a solid amount of points per round. And if I do this and I play do, for example, I'm not getting through my deck. It's just staying the same size. So there's that. Um, what I end up going for here is just getting 6 points and filling up my discard pile. And I've now hit the threshold of 12 points for death. Death is really like there's another card that uses thresholds in Ashes. It gets played in aggro decks, but like the threshold for that is 8 cards in discard, which you kind of just naturally hit. Versus death, you you need to hit 12 cards in discard. So if you have like a normal deck, that means you have only 3 cards left of your 15. So it's unlikely unless you're doing something like do or playing cards that create ashes in the discard. Um, Passing here because I will get the draw. He won't. And I wouldn't mind the pass. But Cling also is net neutral, I think. That wasn't necessarily the right choice, but here we are. I'm making the choice here, do I be competitive on this round, or do I just pass? Like, I could just totally pass this round and let him win, and then he has one more win to seal the game, but that's fine because I'm doing Paramountcy things. Um, the other cards in my hand aren't really a consideration. Like, Overflow becomes good after the shuffle, or like good compared to the other options, but it's definitely worse as the game goes on. Do and Arsonist can refill my discard pile after the shuffle, but I probably don't have enough time to really make that a consideration. I don't really think this is the best choice, um, and I can try to explain why. So there's a number of things at play. One is that he is using Hollow to keep points over from a previous round. So if I if I don't play anything this round, he plays some points, and then round 9 or round 8, he's playing some points and then playing Hollow. And I, in that case, probably like play 14 points just in case. And then he has a round 9 in which he has like 20 or 30 points, but I have a round 9 in which I'm playing like 40 points off of Paramountcy. But I have to consider like what are my lose conditions here because this is kind of my game to lose, even though he's close to winning. Um, and the reason is that he's playing like kind of fair. Um, so if I don't do something this round and then respond to what he does next round, I probably don't lose. Versus if I play my cards this round, and if one of his cards was a dagger, my strategy is now wrecked. Then I'm in a bad spot. So if one of his cards was a dagger and he didn't play hollow, I can conceivably win this round as well. But it's not as sure as if I just did nothing round 7 and then round 8 I um round 8, if he had played a dagger round 7, I am doing whatever it takes to not shuffle. Um, and I can probably do this while getting enough points, I think. Maybe I can't actually. Hmm. So he's trying really hard. I think that he's just ending up in a no-win situation here. Like, there's nothing in his deck that interacts with what I'm about to do. And he kind of knows what I'm about to do, I think. Like, he knows that I have 7 points at least. He can guess that I have, like, at least 15. So maybe he's like, okay, I got 15 nourish, and then if he's playing something not too crazy, I'm in a fine spot. But yeah, the thing I'm doing is clearly paramountcy for like, so death, like there will be 7 points from death 4 times, and then cling will get 16 points in total. So that's 28 plus 16 is 44. I think you're just not competing with that. This was interesting to think about. Like, I think I would have to reconsider. Like, maybe my line of playing on round 7 was correct. Because you can only do so many things in a round. Like, I play round 7 and I win it because I just have 14 points, and there's nothing he does that beats that. Um, if he does some amount of discard, then I'm like, okay, I'm going into the shuffle. And what do I do in the shuffle? I have a death, and I can take a lost round once. So I can um, take a round that's just setup, which that setup could be like overflow away a card, play a death or something. And then paramountcy is getting me 12 points, 5 plus 7. And like he's not in a position where he can hollow. So I'm actually probably favored to win. So maybe I was right. But anyways, you see the mechanic of like I really wanted to not shuffle. So round 1, I shouldn't have played um, until he played a card. This is a rare circumstance in which I can beat Hungry Ghost. Um, Anywho, those were 2 games. I'm gonna post the video as is. This is me playing with Samson, who I'd say is like one of the top 3 or top 5 players. Has been playing for a while. Um, I am on a deck that's kind of made to counter a hyper thin. Like I wouldn't put this deck in one of the top slots, but it is really good against one of the top decks. Anywho, this is Celestial Decks. I'm Kai. Thanks for watching.